We've spent 10 years together in Smite, but now it's time for something new.
We believed that our players wanted a better version of Smite more than anything else.
Smite 2 is a necessary venture for them in order to keep Smite alive.
The honeymoon phase for Smite 2 is over, and it lasted a little over one alpha playtest. The first alpha playtest was played by over 130,000 players. As someone who has played for 8 years, I was most nervous it wouldn't feel like Smite 1. And I was pleased to find out that the game had the same mechanical feel, along with what I would call fixable gripes. I was also impressed by the candidness and risk that Hi-Rez was taking on with this project. Smite 2 was in alpha phase. It was clearly unpolished. It had some issues and some blandness to it. And the company opened up their game to ridicule from everyone among the player base. And Hi-Rez appeared to be listening intently to players' feedback. A month later, we got week 2 of the alpha. Progress has seemed to slow down. Some honest player gripes have popped up. The new item shop not being console friendly. The game's FOV making it feel slower. A lack of diversity in gods leading to stale matches. And a lack of knowledge of the only game type currently offered leading to incredibly one-sided games. All add up to create an unfun feedback loop. I don't know if there's a more crucial time in this Smite 2 development as a player to submit your feedback.
It's time for something new. Something more beautiful than ever before. Something with more impact, more strategy, and more creativity.
But that's not what the players have received. Some of the same issues players complained about from the first alpha test are still present in the second alpha release. I want to take a second to note that I understand picking on a game in its alpha stage is not necessarily fair.
However,
there seems to be a disconnect somewhere in the Hi-Rez hierarchy. With the beta for Smite 2 reportedly set for the fall of this year, and where the game seems to be currently, I've come to 2 possible conclusions. One is that I know nothing about the time it takes to create a great functioning game. 2 is that Smite 2's announcement and launch was rushed because Hi-Rez Studios is hurting, and this was their Hail Mary to save both the game and the company.
The reason Hi-Rez is doing this with Smite 2 is because of the previous trajectory. What they were going with on Smite 1 was slowly dying. I don't think I can get into details, and I'm not going to tell you guys everything.
Since the announcement of Smite 2, Hi-Rez Studios has downsized their pro scene. They canceled Smite 1's Pro League, which was primarily funded by the company. They are no longer working to make new gods or true new content for Smite 1, which makes sense. But with early feedback on Smite 2, I don't know how long players who enjoyed the first game will be in this kind of limbo phase. I also want to note that one of the many ways players, including myself, were able to get into the alpha testing was by purchasing the Smite 2 God Pack. The God Pack for Smite 1 was probably the best value purchase you could make in any MOBA. I don't regret my decision to purchase the God Pack for Smite 2, but I can understand that it may look like, and probably is a way to drive some revenue into the company. And I wouldn't be shocked if there are going to be a lot of Smite 2 changes designed to make the game more mainstream, marketable, and profitable.
Bringing in new people to spend money is also valuable.
The drop-off in testing from Smite 2's first alpha to its second is so bad that the president of Hi-Rez Studios, Stu Chisholm, puts out a Twitter poll asking for feedback, specifically on what their team can focus their work on and move forward with. And I think that kind of transparency and openness to work with the people who actually play your game should be commended. It's not often enough that occurs in gaming. And I can't stress this enough either. If you have an opinion on the direction Smite 2 is taking, now is the best time to voice it. And that's where things really start to go off the rails. Okay, so I want to just take you through this post that the president of Hi-Rez sent the other day. It's the nature of the competitive landscape, so I'm less complaining than raising visibility to the facts on the ground. So this is not a complaint. Okay. I wanted to give insight into how increasingly stacked the industry is becoming against independent and mid-sized studios versus large distribution platforms. Large distribution platforms would be things like the Sony Store, the Microsoft, Xbox Connect, Xbox Store, Steam, the Nintendo Switch Store, Epic Store, things of that nature. Okay. I'd rather focus on the general issue, which applies across the board, than slam a specific platform. That's going to be key. That's going to be key here because this next part's just kind of ridiculous. As an example, I'll immediately single out a specific platform. A large partner of ours that we rely on for a significant percentage of our revenue is very blatantly targeting our content creators and pros for a competitive game they are making.
There is another game that is currently in development right now, and that game is called Deadlock. And
I had not heard of it until I read this Twitter post and looked up what he was talking about. And the large partner of theirs that he is accusing of some, I suppose, unethical business practices is Valve Corporation, who owns Steam. This is not normal level targeting. It's down to creating private group chats just of our game's major content creators to target directly and seemingly make this a core part of their strategy. I also don't really like the use of our game's major content creators and our content creators and pros up here. A general rule of mine is when you are talking about somebody like you own them, probably not in the right. They don't belong to high res. You know, the company might feel like if they grew their brand by playing their game a lot, maybe the content creators owe them something, but that is not the case. Let's review some facts. All right. So to try and get the optimal distribution from all our platform providers, we've gone totally pants down on our plans with all of them, down to a 50-slide PowerPoint. In this example, before we knew they were making this game, which they did not disclose. So they know our plans, we don't know theirs.
You're gonna blame me because you were the business head of the company and made a bad business deal with your own company?
Due to their nature as a platform, they know everyone who has played our game on their platform, how much they spent, growth trends over time, markets where the game performs better or worse, what other games other players are playing, everything meaningful. So because Valve owns Steam, and Steam, sells a lot of video games, they can use the data that they get on who plays what to figure out, where games are going and maybe target certain areas. Most importantly, they control each game's on-platform visibility, which is by 10 times the most efficient way to promote a game. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. And actually, I think this partner is better than some of its competitors at this. But you can imagine how easy it would be to put a huge thumb on that scale in favor of in-house content when it comes to on-platform visibility. Now, I'm pretty sure that Steam makes a percentage off of every game. So if you buy something in Smite, a little piece of that goes to Smite. So really, I'd almost imagine that they rather a lot of third-party content is successful because they have to do less work to receive more money. That would be my guess. And if they were really looking to put their thumb on the scale, they could just remove high-res from the platform. This just kind of comes off as incredibly whiny to me. You had a bad playtest weekend, and now this comes out. I don't know that I would be attacking, biting the hand that feeds. It really comes down to one thing. If you make a game that's great, people are going to play it. Very, very similar to the content creation video side, for me at least. There are certainly bigger people than me. But if I make a good video, it's going to do well. Doesn't matter how big or small I am. If I make a good, solid video, it does well. If I don't make a good, solid video, it won't do well. To wrap it up, I think if we take any big things away from Smite 2's second alpha test weekend, it's that the journey we're going to go on as longtime players to see the game at its full potential is a bit longer than maybe we originally would have liked. I have faith that the high-res team can create something that is just as, if not more enjoyable than the first iteration of Smite. I will continue to give the developers some leeway because of how open their communication has been with their loyal base of players. But I'd like to see less knee-jerk reactions and attacks on other games and platforms, which if anything have only succeeded in interesting me in a game called Deadlock. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.